Right, so we're on our way across to go and see the pack of wild dogs. They're pretty much on the airstrip this morning, and I believe they're all milling about right beneath and in front of the windsock, so that's always a pretty good marketing shot. So let's see if we can try and capture something pretty cool there. It's pretty entertaining with these wild dogs. They're all milling about here. Just to see this many out in the open is pretty awesome. But they're all just playing around. Some of the young pups are quite adventurous and playful, and constantly chasing each other and just having a whale of a time. But it looks as though they're now starting to head off in that direction. So let's get around up ahead of them, hopefully try and get them walking past the vehicle, and then I'm sure they're going to settle down somewhere in the thicker vegetation just here, looking for some shade where they'll probably rest it out for the rest of the day. Right, so they have just walked right past the vehicle here. They're actually settling down just behind me, so definitely look like they're starting to settle here. So this is quite likely the spot that they're going to rest, and I'm sure throughout the entire heat of the day they're going to be based somewhere close by here. After a pretty rainy day yesterday and throughout the entire night last night, I've come up this morning and the wild dog pack has caught a female impala right by the Londolozi airstrip. So we're here now just watching a spectacle of all of the pups chasing a whole lot of hooded vultures and white-backed vultures up on a termite mound there. So whilst some of them are burying their heads into the carcass and actually feeding, the others that look like they've already finished their meal are finding some great entertainment in chasing these vultures around. And so it's very interesting watching the interaction between these pups and some of the vultures. We've got the smaller hooded vultures here, and just on a quick little side note, you'll see the colour variation in their faces from white right through to a deep pink. And that is either based off excitement levels or a status. And so the more excited they are, their face flushes pink, or if they are trying to show signs of dominance or being higher up in the hierarchy, their face will also flush pink as they're trying to then chase the other vultures off. And then you've got the larger white-backed vultures up on the mound there, and they are a lot more confident when the wild dogs are around, and almost staring off some of the pups because they are elevated there and slightly bigger and more confident. They're less likely to fly away, whereas these hooded vultures are very cheeky. They're smaller, so they can take off a bit quicker, so they're confident they'll come down looking for any scraps on the ground, and then as soon as the wild dogs get a little bit closer, they'll hop up into a tree. So it's a very entertaining spectacle this morning. There's very little left of this carcass now, so I'm sure they're not going to be around here for too much longer. And as you can see, it's a pretty cloudy, overcast morning, so they're likely to go and settle down somewhere, not necessarily seeking out shade, but rather just somewhere comfortable, somewhere safe for them. And safety will then come in probably being fairly open so they can see any danger. But of course, as we know now, as things start to warm up, predators such as lions, hyenas, leopards are less likely to move around, although with it being a cool morning, there's still that chance. But what a phenomenal morning, watching these pups grow and develop into basically little miniature versions of the adults. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, initially there was 7 adults when we first saw them with these pups. I believe there's only 5 now, and from 19 pups I think there's only 13. So I wonder if they've had a little run-in with some lions or hyenas or something that may have reduced their numbers slightly. Fact of the matter is, this is what's here. We don't know what's happened for them to get to this number, but as you can see, one of the males just rolling around behind me here, giving his back a good scratch. So it's always pretty epic spending some time with wild dogs, especially a whole bunch of pups like this. And so if you're wanting to follow the story further and see how these little youngsters grow and develop, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and by subscribing you'll be able to see some more pretty epic adventures in the wilderness here. This afternoon we had come back out to hopefully see the wild dogs moving around, and we arrived to all of the pups busy having a whale of a time on the northern end of the airstrip. The adults are now gone off hunting. Perfect, cool, calm, cloudy afternoon. Weather suiting the dogs and their hunting strategy perfectly. We just spent some more time with the pups playing around and saw a hyena bolting off into the distance because of having heard the adults successfully catch an impala. It wasn't too long before one of the adults then came trotting back covered in blood, and that's a sure sign that they were successful and are just waiting for the return of some of the other adults. And as we're sitting here watching them, all of their ears and heads are pointing in the direction from where this adult returned from. So I'm wondering if they are aware of the fact that the other adults are most likely still feeding and are going to return from that direction, or maybe they can actually hear the feeding or an interaction with the hyenas in the distance. I'm not too sure, just merely pondering these thoughts. But what we're hoping for now is the rest of the adults to return and regurgitate some of the food, and hopefully actually go up onto the northern end of the airstrip here, where we're going to have them elevated up above us with a perfectly moody, cloudy sky in the background. On the airstrip. So that was absolutely incredible. Somehow the adults had snuck past and popped up on the airstrip behind us. The pups, along with the one adult that was here, started marching off in the direction of where the carcass was presumed to be. And then eventually the adults started giving off a soft whimpering call, which caused all of the pups to then realize that, hey, the adults are actually behind us. And they all came charging back up towards those adults, chasing the one off into the distance, and then some of them stayed with the other one that was closer to us, who then regurgitated some food, and they all seemed to get a decent meal out of that. But I think there was a chunk that was quite large that had a lot of the pups all holding on to at the same time as they were running around, none of them wanting to actually let go. Looks like another adult just returned. Yeah. Okay, that was a bit of excitement there. The fifth and final adult came running back in, and Baz was just saying how it looked as though it was carrying a piece of meat, and I've never seen an adult wild dog carry meat back to the pups like that, so that's a first for us. And it then ran up over the airstrip with all the pups hot on its tail. It looked like it then dropped the piece of meat and regurgitated some more for these pups. So they've now been charging around. You can see they're still busy behind us here, all fighting over the last few scraps. But what an incredible afternoon spent with these wild dogs and the pups on the airstrip in the open, as they're all charging around having the best time. So I hope you've enjoyed this virtual safari. If you have, give our YouTube channel a subscribe, and that'll help you then stay in tune for any more of these epic videos that we put out in the future. Give this video a like, drop a comment below, and we'll see you all again next week. But thanks for watching.